Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome you to episode 25 of the Candor Beach podcast. Today, we will be talking to you about the economics of streaming. And without further ado, Sailesh, what are we in for?
So we'll majorly talk about five major things. So we're going to talk about how the history worked, like how Netflix and streaming came into existence.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can talk about how the market got crowded eventually with a bunch of these streaming companies coming in, like Disney, Amazon, all this stuff, right? So we'll talk about how crowded the market is and how the verticals work, and eventually we'll jump into how streaming actually led to the rise of cloud computing and Amazon Web Services, and and how it actually transformed the streaming, right? And we'll talk about a little bit about the e-commerce, how live broadcasting actually works, the advertising, the commercials, how the advertising behind the e-commerce works behind. And last thing, we'll give some small predictions. And I think that's about the major things we're going to talk about.
Fantastic. So let's start with some numbers. So, from an
Yeah.
article in 2022 quoting Nielsen, the median streaming household has about or had about 3 subscriptions and paid between $20 to $30 per month. In contrast, you have cable and satellite TV for the meager price of $530 per month.
Oh my
So you can see the appeal of having a streaming subscription instead. Now, to put it in contrast, in India, cable TV cost about 600 rupees INR. 600 rupees INR is a little redundant, but whatever. That translates roughly to about $8. And
God.
satellite TV today, Geo Fiber, Geo part of the Reliance group, they start at 600 rupees, also $8. Tata Tata Play HD is about 1100 rupees or roughly $14. So that's a
Yeah,
massive
huge
difference.
difference, right?
Huge difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I think that was I
sorry, go
think that
ahead.
was the biggest reason. Like, if you look at it, like streaming is struggling in India, right? So there's so much of competition, and the price sensitivity in India makes a huge difference. Like you have cable and deep, satellite TV almost coming at the price of streaming. But
It
compared
is at the
to
price of streaming.
America,
And
yeah, so we
and you
have a
see
massive
companies
difference.
and you see companies struggling. Like Disney, for instance, is
Yeah,
looking at exiting India. Apparently they get uh, like less than $1. I think they earn about so this Reuters article quotes that they earn about 60 cents per user, as opposed to like in the United States and Canada where they get about $7.30 per user. So that's a massive difference, and these streaming companies are taking a hit. But what's up? Like, why? Like, let's start with why streaming came to be. What caused people to start cutting the cord and moving to streaming?
yeah. I mean, it's also first things first, the proliferation of the internet, right? So first, back in the day, remember we used to have the CD, the VCD, and the DVD rentals.
Yeah,
Started with like Blockbuster, and they went to a Redbox. So where you go, just you can rent out the DVDs or whatever, the CDs, and eventually people had internet everywhere. So the proliferation of internet let Netflix boom, because I still remember Netflix was there back in the day of Blockbuster, but it wasn't taken off because everybody were okay with buying the DVDs or renting it the DVDs. So it's mostly proliferation of internet.
you know what? This is just an interesting point. A quick aside: Blockbuster failed for a bunch of reasons. Like they had come up with a model in which like they were the incumbent, right? So why did they fail where
Mm.
Netflix succeeded? They could have just aped Netflix's business model. Wasn't a big deal for them.
Yeah,
Buster started like a Blockbuster on demand sort of a service where it was a streaming service. However, their key KPI, apparently, their key performance metric, was revenue
Brick
per
and mortar.
square foot.
Yeah.
Now, in a streaming platform, in a streaming service, revenue per square foot no longer makes sense. It makes perfect sense when you have stores. You want to see how
Yeah.
much you're optimizing per area that you're paying for, but not in streaming. So
Yeah.
it is hypothesized, like it is rumored, that Blockbuster looked at a falling metric. They looked at sales per square foot falling, or revenue per square foot falling, and decided that on demand was cannibalizing their main business. They failed to evolve,
Yeah.
and well, they don't exist anymore. But
Sad,
yeah,
man.
so you
I
were talking
remember those
about
days. Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
So internet, Netflix, what next?
So yeah, Netflix actually started the bandwagon, right, for streaming and all in all.
For video
So
streaming
now,
specifically.
yeah. So then we have other companies jumping in. Um, so we talk about that, and how did actually what we can talk about is how COVID actually turbocharged this entire market, right? So the streaming actually was take like it was there, but it actually came mainstream, was super mainstream because of COVID. Everybody was stuck locked up, in the house, and then all you have to do is watch Netflix or
Another
other
quick,
streaming services.
another quick interjection here. So
Mhm.
with Netflix, you also had YouTube. You also had Twitch. You
Yeah,
also, like, when we're talking about streaming, let's not limit ourselves to just videos, because you also have
yeah,
music. So Spotify, Apple
yeah.
Music, all of this really kicked up maybe like starting about a decade ago, if I'm getting my timeline right.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, YouTube is pretty old, right? So
yeah,
YouTube always. So
YouTube was a streaming is a streaming service. Twitch really picked up. Amazon bought Twitch a few years ago. Twitch is big for gamers. Uh, I streamed a chess game once.
yeah, it was. I remember you telling me. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Marketplace, right? So you have the entire, if you look at by the verticals, you have the education industry,
Mm-hmm.
the e-learning, the what do you call that, Shaw Academy, and there were a bunch of stuff which is in the education sector, which is also in the streaming business, right? So healthcare, you have documentary TV like DocuPay or Discovery Plus. Oh,
So
and we can,
yeah,
yeah, and like the erotic vertical, you have the OnlyFans, or
I
that's
like how
also
you
streaming, right?
paused and like this was special mention. Interesting. But so all of this was just waiting to happen. Like all of this was there in the background, but it wasn't pushing up into the foreground. And that's when COVID happened. I think that's when people were
Yeah.
confined to they're not stepping out, and they had to find ways to entertain themselves. And I think that's when like Spotify shot up, Netflix shot up, Zoom shot up. All of these platforms just like took off. You had like today you have more services oriented towards connecting you digitally. So yeah, like
So many. Yeah,
COVID for sure was quite a game changer.
definitely. So if
What
you go ahead.
is so I was going to ask you, like, I understand that Netflix evolved the way it did, but like when you were talking about the CD shops, like India, you see a lot of piracy. What do you think was the
Yeah.
role of piracy back in the day? Like, you remember LimeWire, P2P
Mm.
sharing?
That was music. We downloaded so much
It
stuff off
wasn't
of
just
LimeWire.
music; you could download movies off of it as well.
Sure, sure. I guess J Downloader, you remember? And the torrents. Then you had the
I never
torrents.
tried
Oh my
torrents.
God.
I was told
Oh
horror
yeah.
stories about torrents and viruses, so I never tried torrents. But I did use LimeWire for a bit. Downloaded, I like. I'm sure there's a statute of
Pirate Bay, man.
limitations here.
Pirate Bay actually survived. So if you look at piracy,
Hmm.
Pirate Bay has a phenomenal run. It's still surviving. They tried to take down Pirate Bay, but it's still surviving. So another thing of piracy, if you talk about, So I back in the day, like about like 5 6 years ago, if you look, we used to get these little Amazon Fire Sticks, right? So you just go and you program it with like Kodi. It was this app, right? So it's like a open source software. You program it with Kodi, and almost all the streaming services used to come for free. So that was another major thing. I mean, it actually, see, certain people can't pay for all these subscription models, right? You have so many. So if you want all of them, you have to pay for all of them, each and every one of them, which is going to come out to like $40 $50 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of that, go buy a Fire Stick for $50 and just crack it. And that's how piracy actually also took off with it.
So essentially, piracy helped the proliferation of, well, both movies and streaming, the
Mm,
concept of streaming.
yeah,
You know, today they also talk about how you have these creators who are coming up and saying that their movies or their TV shows are streaming on Netflix and it's doing so well. They've got like a 5 year deal with Netflix or
hmm,
Amazon or Apple. Well, Apple TV is too new to have this anecdote apply to them. But you have these creators coming up and saying, "Well, I created this show, and Netflix is running it and making money out of it. I should get a chunk of it as well. They should be paying me.
yeah,
They're now pushing, lobbying for a bigger share, and this is going to affect Netflix, of course. But what are they going to do? This is like tax. They're just going to pass it on to us, the consumer,
the
and
customer, yeah.
slowly we're going to go back to that eventual shift. You were talking about how there are a lot of players in the market today. You have
Yeah,
the oldest ones were what? Hulu, Disney, and
yeah,
like say
Netflix.
and Netflix, right? And then
The,
HBO Max
yeah,
came up. You have
yeah.
Apple TV Plus today, Peacock. You have a bunch of these streaming services
No,
today.
but HBO was there for a very long time, though. HBO originally, remember HBO? We used
No,
to watch
not their
HBO on
streaming,
weekly.
not their streaming service. That was cable
Oh,
TV,
okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right. So like,
yeah. That's correct.
yeah. So I think in the crowded market today, we are seeing a lot of bundling because
Hmm.
HBO Max is going in with Discovery Plus, like bundling Discovery Plus to make their value offering a little stronger. Disney with ESPN and Hulu, particularly in
Yeah,
markets which don't have access to Hulu, like in India, you get their programming. Disney automatically becomes a little more attractive. Apple was at 7.99 for the longest time, and recently a friend of mine sent this article saying that Apple's also pushing to match the price leaders. Today, like the price leaders have moved on from $10 to 14.99. Apple's moving in from 7.99 to about $10, I think. So everybody's upping their price. Streaming in general is getting more expensive, and that is partly because creators are looking at getting a bigger chunk out of it. But also, people are getting pickier about the content they watch. During
yeah,
COVID, you saw all sorts of content being produced. Like, if it was half an
uh,
idea, it was being produced. But today, people are getting a little more picky about what they want to watch, and so producers are getting pickier about what they're going to finance. So the sort of
yeah,
content that we're getting is a little, let's say, a little more high production. Like I get to invest more in less. So the quality of content that we're getting is better. But then it also throws a spanner in the works in terms of, like making sure that everybody can make a living. It's you remember our talk about socialism versus capitalism?
yeah.
You're
I
getting
mean,
to see
if you
that
look at it,
principle here.
Netflix went woke, and it threw that idea down the trash. It was like, first, remember back in the day, I think it was during the COVID time. There were these TV shows he's expecting, and woke ideology kind of TV shows. And then recently they had Dave Chappelle's comedy show, which is transphobic. They claim he wasn't being transphobic in it, but it's everybody has a different opinion. But they actually stuck with it. it actually generated a lot of revenue for Netflix. If you look, but he's expecting didn't take off as much as it did. It boils down to the same thing we were talking about. We were talking about remember the Disney got he had to revamp the entire
Snow White.
Snow White and
Yeah.
Dwarf.
It's now a
So
2025 release per the article you shared.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, they had to remove the dwarfs and put CGI dwarfs, right?
Actual dwarves,
So
yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, so
that
for
I
sure we
mean,
are seeing a shift in content. Like quality is like people are focusing on quality now. Some of the agenda funded content is getting funneled out as people are
yeah,
reacting to it. There is better audience listening, I think. But here's a thought. Like streaming isn't very profitable for these companies, right? Like streaming
mm,
apparently accounts for a sixth of the revenue that cable was giving these companies. A sixth.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
steep
I
hit.
agree.
So you know what? Like I know that we talked about predictions right towards the end, but I'm going to start with a prediction right now, if that's okay.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think we are going to see more of a cable TV model coming up on streaming. There is going to be an audience where like we are already seeing price hikes with streaming and that's influencing people on its own. Like earlier people would keep like a Netflix subscription all through the year because it was very affordable. Now since
Mm,
Netflix is hiking its prices, since Disney Plus is hiking their prices, you are going to see people focusing on the sort of content that they're starting to prioritize TV shows or movies or whatever. Like when a new season comes out, I'm going to subscribe to this platform, watch it for that month or whatever, and then cancel my subscription
and
and
then
then
cancel
move
it.
on to
Yeah,
it. Yeah, it's
move on. Yeah,
sort of like a revolving door of sorts with subscription. And so you are going to see that sort of behavior for one, because of which platforms are going to try and well automatically increase stickiness, right? That's what businesses do. They focus on this whole retention statement. Like apparently customers that you can retain, loyal customers, give you have a higher lifetime value than uh, if you're trying to acquire new customers. So
yeah.
so platforms are going to try and increase stickiness. How are they going to do that? By giving you maybe cheaper plans, and they're going to be able to do
Cheaper
this.
subscription. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're going to be able to do this by advertisements. We are already seeing a return of advertisements on platforms. We're going to see more advertisements once more. More advertisements
yeah.
once
So
more.
if you look at it, on streaming ones, we have like Disney Hotstar. We have on the lowest subscription paid plan, you
Mm-hmm.
have advertising. Like there are commercial breaks. If you're watching a long movie, even on a subscribe plan, you have commercials, like one or two commercials, more like the YouTube commercials, which just
In the
randomly come
lower
in between
tiers, right?
the video.
In the lower
Yeah.
tiers.
So that's how they're trying to make up for it, right? So I agree. I do agree that they
We are
have
going
to
to see
make
a
up
return
somewhere.
to we're going to see a return to the cable TV model, albeit through a different
Yeah,
means altogether. Um, I YouTube YouTube also offers that YouTube Premium, right? I subscribe to YouTube Premium,
yeah,
and just
yeah.
because the
Me too.
ads get
Yeah.
really annoying.
Oh my God. Yeah. You get three or four ads. You cannot even skip them.
Yeah. So
So yeah. So
so
let's
we
talk
are
about the.
seeing a switch. Sorry, go ahead.
Um, I was saying, what are your thoughts on how the streaming influenced cloud computing? How much of this data is being stored, and what is the data management behind it? Like how Netflix actually changed from their own servers to AWS, Amazon Web Services, even though they're competitors to Amazon Prime.
Well, there was this article that I didn't understand very well, and we'll link it for people who have a better understanding of the technicals. But apparently, Amazon Prime Video, I mean, they
Mhm.
use AWS, they changed their
Hmm.
architecture from an EC2 to an ES something. Long story short, they changed their architecture, and they basically moved to something that they call like a monolithic
Yeah.
architecture. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, like, why am I like fumbling with this? It's basically like
Yeah. I mean,
they moved down to from I'm going to read this out, re-architected
okay,
its
sure.
infrastructure from distributed microservices system to a monolithic application, and this brought down their costs by 90%. Now, I don't understand it well enough to talk about it or explain it, but what I'm going to say is that data is a massive investment with improvement in internet, like with faster transfer speeds, with better storage facilities, with better energy, like more energy efficient storage facilities. I think we are going to move into a model which is going to impact the streaming, is going to impact costs in streaming. So, as an example, Microsoft has a Project Silica, where
Mm.
they're storing data on like shards of glass of sorts, like slabs of glass.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the
Yeah.
Superman movies, like the original Superman movies. So my
Kryptonite
not
storage, right?
kryptonite. No, not kryptonite. I
Uh,
forget.
the crystals. You
Hmm,
they
hmm,
put
hmm.
the crystal and the yeah, the
Yeah,
information comes out. Yeah.
yeah. So the original Superman stories, Microsoft is apparently storing data on glass slabs. It has like a 1 TB storage. There was another article that I looked at which talked about Microsoft investing in or considering mini nuclear plants of sorts for energy to
Yeah.
power their Azure systems. I think all of this is going to have a strong impact in on streaming for sure. Cloud is already helping because on premises versus cloud has advantages. On premises data storage has their advantages. Scale is something that cloud storage particularly helps with a concept called edge computing, an old concept called edge computing. You get faster delivery as well because the closer the data is to wherever you are, the faster your the data is going to be transferred. Like that's a concept that it has been explored for a while now, right? Like whenever you're installing software, they ask you like
Yeah.
what server should we locate you to, like where are you. So
So
cloud computing,
if
edge
you look
computing
at
is
it
for sure going to help.
like data storage, so I
Mm.
was reading another article. I think it was in Nature magazine. They were talking about how you can save so much of data in DNA. You know, like DNA, our human DNA or any kind of DNA holds a lot of data, and it can be in a minuscule amount of space.
Yeah.
And something like that, like when you was talking about the glass storage data, that's what actually came up in my mind. It was actually in the prototypes. So if one, I'll add the article onto uh, the the description.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that was something very very fascinating to learn. So yeah, so we talked about the streaming, the cloud computing, and how Amazon Web Service integration with Netflix. Let's also talk about Prime Video architecture, or and
No,
the
let's
switch.
let's not talk about the Prime Video. That's what I just talked about.
Okay.
That's what I just talked about, like the 90% cost reduction. I
Oh, that's
think
what you okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what you mean. Okay, okay. Yeah, I didn't get the name. So
Yeah.
anyway, so the I think we're on the fourth topic. So how does how does these networks like streaming actually help in targeted advertising? Like
Money,
if
money,
you
money. We're
yeah.
on to the money
So
part. Yeah. So there have been discussions. Like, as a management consultant, there have been instances where I've spoken to clients about how they can like give a booster shot of sorts into their e-commerce by bringing in live broadcast. So you have live
mm,
shopping, a very popular concept in China, particularly. And now I think around the world, like with Facebook as well, you have live shopping where like an influencer is like physically or like showing you the product and while they're streaming, you can start, like, the audience can purchase this product. Like when I was thinking about live shopping, I was also thinking people have started live fashion shows. Like you see a model walking on a runway, and the like
Yeah,
whatever
and
she's wearing or
what
he's
else to
wearing
wear? Yeah.
is ready to purchase, like right there, the moment you see it. So
This used
e-commerce.
to happen in the back in the day. Remember, they used to have those mopping advertisements. In the middle of the night, they used to have just
Yeah,
advertisement. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
like, or you buy a toaster, and we have this price. At this price. Yeah,
Was
that
it
is something.
like a form of telemarketing or something? I don't remember what it
Yeah,
was called.
telemarketing. Yeah, and you
Telemarketing.
call them, and yeah, telemarketing. Yeah, you call them and reserve your toaster. Yeah, that was.
I think I
Yeah,
saw an
that's
ad like
something.
that the last time I was in the US as well, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The last time I visited, I still saw telemarketing ads.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, mostly U.S. ads are drugs, so Ozempic, or something like that. Yeah,
okay.
but
Okay, I don't remember what I saw. But yeah, like
oh man, yeah,
e-commerce is definitely going to take like is going to get boosted by live broadcast when it gets mainstream. Um, do you have anything else on this, or just we should we just shoot with predictions now?
yeah. Shoot with prediction. Yeah, why not?
Shoot with predictions.
Um,
So we'd already made one
I
prediction.
would say, yeah, you already gave your prediction, so
No, I gave
I
one
would say,
prediction. The return
yeah,
to
you only
cable
gave one.
TV.
Yeah,
I get
yeah. Return
multiple
to cable TV.
predictions. Yeah, I get multiple predictions. I get to make more than one
Sure,
prediction.
sure. Okay, give me another one after this.
Yeah, go for it.
Like I would say, like your VR
Mm-hmm.
integrated with streaming is at the nascency, right? So it's once it takes off, that's where everything's gonna like having a full e-commerce integration into the VR set. So that's something really cool. Like imagine me cooking, right? And I'm watching a cooking streaming channel, and I'm able to also see what I'm cooking and what is being shown on the streaming website, the streaming platform. So that's something I think is going to be in the future, right? So
I understand. I understand where you're coming from with the VR thing. I think like there are streams, there is content that is being produced for VR already. Uh, with Apple's Vision Pro coming out, with the Quest Pro, with increasing iterations of the Quest Pro, with Meta's Ray-Ban glasses collaboration, I think we are going to see a lot of AR VR content for sure. Um, I don't know if it'll be restricted to just VR. Maybe let's just call it immersive experiences. I think there will be streaming
immersive,
with
yeah,
immersive experiences.
immersive streaming, yeah.
Yeah, a fancy term, but yeah, that's for sure coming up. I agree. The other thing that I was thinking about, like my other prediction, was Gen AI. I think Gen AI is going to start disrupting streaming. You already have companies like Runway that can create AI generated videos. You're just going to have more of that. Like in Japan a few years ago, like this was before the Gen AI craze. Uh,
Mm.
they had You had influencers that created avatars for themselves, avatars, like whichever part of the world you're in, like however which way you pronounce it. Uh, you had Gen AI creating avatars. Not Gen AI, like you had these influencers creating avatars for themselves. I think that Gen AI is just going to facilitate that. It's going to make it easier. So if you are uncomfortable with showing your face on camera, you can just use Gen AI to morph your image. You can use Gen AI to create more content. And this is going to pose risks, of course, like security risks as an example, because Gen AI is already creating music, right? That music in the style of a famous artist, like Justin Bieber singing She Will Be Loved by Maroon 5, as an example. Like you have
Mm.
videos like that coming up, popping up on YouTube. You are going to have you are going to have authenticity. Authenticity is going to take a beating, or authenticity is going to come to the forefront. Something that Google has definitely tried to focus on, particularly in their Pixel announcement. But yeah, I think Gen AI is going to disrupt streaming for sure. This Hollywood
Yeah, I think.
strike, right? The writer's strike. uh,
Oh yeah.
it was crazy, like, because all right, so you want more money, that's great. Now I, as a producer, I'm going to look at how I can bring my costs down so I can maximize my profit. How am I going to do that? Dot dot dot.
I mean, Gen AI gonna. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get catfished more because of Gen AI on Tinder.
I wouldn't put yeah, for sure. I think you might. But they have the
Yeah.
blue
So
tick, right? You could always that verify symbol.
yeah, sure. On Bumble, yeah,
Oh, they don't have it on Tinder?
Tinder, but barely anybody is. So yeah, but
Mm.
Bumble's better actually.
Quick free advertisement for Bumble, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh snap.
All right, all
Yeah,
right. So that was our
it was.
piece then.
Like, comment, subscribe. Um, anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. See you on the next one. Goodbye.